Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Friday's webinar from Annika Digital. It's myself and Stanley, and I'm very pleased to introduce two brand new members of the team, Jessica and Tony. Good morning, guys.
Hi.
Morning. Hello. Right. So let's go to Tony first. Tony, what's your new role at Annika, and how come I've invited you? What's going to be? How are you going to get involved in webinars going forward?
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Tony, and I'm the new marketing manager at Annika Digital. You're going to be seeing a lot of my faces at all these webinars coming up in the future. And we're going to be organizing new webinars, interesting topics that you can definitely learn from. And we can always just exchange ideas in the chat also.
Thank you, Tony. And Jessica, what's your new role at Annika, and how are you going to get involved?
Yeah, so I'm the marketing manager as well, but for the academy side of Annika. So I've just on here today to kind of see how everything runs and works and kind of get a bit of experience in kind of what Annika does with the webinar side of things. But yeah, excited to see what happens.
Excellent. And basically, both of you guys are going to be involved either in the training or in webinars, either supporting or maybe even presenting. So lots of you saying hello in the chat. So just a bit of housekeeping for anybody that's new. In a minute, I'm going to turn the cameras off, and I'm going to be presenting my talk on ChatGPT. You can go and get the handouts top right. There's a little symbol up there where you can go and grab the slides. And I'm going to run a couple of polls just to get an idea of what your current understanding is. The video will be available. It takes a couple of hours for the video to process, but you should get that in a couple of hours. So that will give you all the recording and everything that you need. Please ask questions in the chat. Some of the Annika team are on hand to answer. I can see we've got Zach and James and a few others who are massive experts in using ChatGPT, as well as some of the rest of the team. So please go and help ask lots of questions, and they will try and answer while I'm chatting away. So let's start the poll, and we'll start the first poll. And the first poll is, let me just max it out onto the screen so you'll be able to see the results. What is your current attitude towards AI and the use of software like ChatGPT in the workplace? So you should be able to start selecting an answer there. And then when you submit your answer, you'll be able to see the answers on the screen as they come across. So it will not apply to most of my job, as I'm not office-based. It scares me, and I'm really worried about the impact on my job. I will use it as a tool and as assistant, and if I think it will help. I will actively embrace it and learn about it so I can be more productive. And I think it will revolutionize my industry. And if I don't like it, I'll be left behind. So, yeah, lots of you are in the final camp of thinking it will revolutionize. We just got a new visitor to the webinar. Darren, who's our MD, has just brought his crazy dog Barney to come and say hello. So if you hear barking in the background, you know exactly who it is. He's just come to say hello because he recognizes me from before. So interesting results there. Somebody's asked me if this is the same webinar as before. No, it's been completely updated. We did do this one back in March, but the slides are brand new. So at the moment, you should be able to see the results. About 20% will think it will use it as a tool. 33% of you will think it will make you more productive. And 47%, which is nearly half of you, think that if you don't use it, you'll get left behind, which is really interesting. Okay, let's look at the next poll. Yeah, one of the things I'm trying to investigate is whether we should actually create an AI course. As you all know, we do have the digital skills boot camps, and I've got a link at the end where if you're in the East Midlands or East Anglia, you can sign up for the free course that we're currently running. But I'm just interested to know whether any of you would find it useful to actually have a course. Are you seeing this on the screen, guys? Oh, yeah, it's coming up now. So would you benefit or like us to develop an AI and business skills bootcamp? We would apply for funding, so it would be free. Not relevant to me. Yes, I would be interested in attending short webinars. Yes, I would be prepared to invest 60 hours to develop my skills. Yes, I would prepare to invest 100 hours to develop my skills. And the reason I've asked that question is that at the moment, most of the funding for digital marketing training is 100 hours, which is effectively 1 day a week for 4 months. So I think understanding whether people are interested in a shorter course or whether they're just interested in webinars is really useful. So thank you for that. A lot of you are very happy to attend webinars, and we can definitely run a lot more on that. But there are a few of you that would be prepared to invest a little bit more time. So I'll leave that one open for a little bit more just to get a few more results. But thank you for responding to that. That's really helpful when I'm trying to apply for money. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now. Just a little bit of housekeeping. When I share my screen and put the slides, I can no longer see the chat. So what that will mean is I will need you guys to just check that you can see the screen. Okay, so I'll do that first. Get to the beginning, and so if you can let me know whether you can see the screen. Can you see the screen, guys?
Yes.
And could you turn your camera and your mics off? And for the people that are just open, in the top right, there's 2 little arrows which allow you to expand the screen, because you are going to need to see this at the maximum size so you can see what I've actually written. Okay, right, well, let's go. A lot to cover today. I'm going to show you how to use ChatGPT 4.0 in your marketing and tips on practical prompting, which is the term that we use for creating those useful instructions. A little bit about me, if you've not met me before. I'm the CEO and founder, 22 years in digital marketing and 17 years running Annika and also the Academy. I mainly do consultancy work, and I really like AI, particularly generative AI, becoming a bit of a geek. A couple of books there, some links there for you to go and investigate. We are having a bit of a break in August for the webinars. They restart in the last week, so there's a couple of weeks off for the summer, but you're welcome to sign up, and Tony's got a plan already for the whole of September. If you want to connect to me, I'm mainly on LinkedIn, and there's my email address as well. A little bit about Annika if you're new to the webinar. So 17 years of data-driven digital marketing. We're mainly focused on e-commerce, but we do have a lot of other established brands, and we offer strategy, social, search, shopping, and skills. This is where I'm physically based at the moment. We're next to the river. It's an old converted pub on Frog Island in the middle of Leicester. I love this picture. It was taken by one of the students, and the sky was our brand colours, which was very convenient, but it also shows it all lit up, and you can really tell it's a pub there. So there's 20 staff in Annika Digital, and then there's another 6 over in Annika Academy. We've got about 35 clients plus the 5 clients in the Academy, which are mainly local councils and the LEPs, and then we offer those 5 services. And then really just to sort of round up, if any of you need any help, please contact me and the team, as we're all dying to work with lots of businesses around the country and also around the world. So what am I going to talk about then? So first of all, I'm going to get started on ChatGPT and explain the differences between the free and the paid version. I'm going to talk about the concept of prompt engineering. I'm then going to show you how you can improve ChatGPT by accessing extra data. And then we're going to talk about multimodal and the future. So just in case you're curious what multimodal means, instead of it just being text to text, it's also text to images and sound and code and everything else that you can imagine that you can do with generative AI. I'm predominantly focusing on ChatGPT today, I do mention Google once, but there are lots of other platforms that you might want to look at, such as Claude and Perplexity as well. So don't think that ChatGPT is the end of everything, but in our opinion here, it's by far the most versatile and easy to use. Okay, so what is it and how do we use it? So first of all, if you've not logged in at all, you can go to chatgpt.com/or/login and get access. And this will give you access to the free version. At Anika, we've got 2 accounts. We've each got our own personal account, and then we've got an account that we use across the organization. And that is a paid account. So if you go into the free version and you log in, what you'll notice immediately is that you've got this big area on the right hand side, and then there's this section at the bottom, which is where you actually type the prompt. I've highlighted in the box here ChatGPT, because this is how you can tell which version you're in, and also you can do a drop down and see what's hidden underneath it. And then on the right hand side, you've got your history of what you've been typing in. So that's actually the box where you actually put in your message. And I grabbed this screenshot from today because it does, yesterday, because it does change quite rapidly. But you will also notice there's an attachment sign, which means that you can attach a document and ask ChatGPT to interpret it. It's also giving you some ideas of what you can do by some of the stuff there. When you're actually in the free version and you go to the drop down, you can see that there is an encouragement for you to sign up and upgrade to what's called ChatGPT Plus. But basically, in this version, you're using version 3.5. So as every time ChatGPT releases a new version, the number goes up. And if you are using the paid version, you'll be using version 4. And it also gives you access to something called 4.0, which we'll talk about in a lot of detail. So that's where you can see which version you're on. I'm going to start by just asking a simple question. And my simple question is, what is ChatGPT? Now, I have kept some of the slides from before because I want to show you how it's evolved in only 5 months. So if you notice something like that, it says 3.5. This is a slide from March, but I have updated and interjected with a lot of new stuff as well. So if you did see the previous slide session, then do stick around because there's lots of useful stuff. So what I've done is I've typed into the prompt box at the bottom, and notice at this time it didn't have that attachment facility, and it's given me an answer, and you can see it in a bit more detail here, and it explains what ChatGPT is, and it talks about it being, it explains what GPT stands for. It explains that it's from OpenAI, and it's all about the fact that it's a natural language tool, which means that the data that it produces and the answer it produces is based on something called machine learning. And machine learning gets lots and lots of information. Basically, it scrapes the internet and lots of additional information like Wikipedia. And then people test it and train it. And we call that the training data, or the LLM, which is the large language model. And I'm being a little bit colloquial in the way I'm explaining it. So don't quote me on any of this. I'm just trying to make it easier for you to understand. And then a load of humans will look at the answers and say, yes, this is a good answer or a bad answer. And gradually it learns until it develops the ability to start sort of training itself. So what you see is, depending on the model that you use, it's using data from certain periods, and that data set is then closed, and then they carry on developing it, and then they'll launch the new model. So this is using a data from 3.5, and then if you look at 4, you'll see more recent data in it. So we'll come on to that in a little bit more detail in a minute. But I just want to show you the difference between what we were getting back in March and that's the answer there. And then this is how you interact with it. You can reschedule it, you can copy it, you can give it a thumbs up, and generally interact with it. And I would generally rerun it if I don't think it's good enough, until I get a version that I like. So don't just put it in once and expect it to be perfect. You can improve it by playing around with it. This is the answer now. So this was yesterday. This is still using the free version, but you see it's much more detailed. It's much more structured. It's Exchange GPT architecture. So it's explained GPT architecture, explained the training process, and this goes on quite a long way. So you can see the detail of the information it's provided is significantly better than it was just a few months ago. So I've put in a couple of other prompts just to sort of show you a little bit more information. So this is who has invented ChatGPT, and it's basically by OpenAI, who are in the news a lot. But the initial investors also included Elon Musk, who's now got out and he's got his own generative AI and his own large language model, or LLM. And also Microsoft have invested a lot of money in it as well. So if you go and use Copilot, or you go over to Bing and use it, it's actually using OpenAI technology to power the Bing and the Microsoft information as well. So they're all sort of linked up together. However, they're not the only people. So Apple have got their own, Facebook have got their own, obviously Google's got their own, which I'll come on to. So all the big tech companies have invested in this to various different extents. But I would say, and even some small independents as well. And there's also some aggregators. So Perplexity, which is a really interesting search engine, takes its data from several different generative AI systems. So we are going to be talking about prompt engineering, and this explains what prompt engineering is. And it's basically the, I would say, the sort of skill of playing around with the instructions and the prompts that you give ChatGPT to get the best possible answer. There's quite a lot of techniques involved, and I'm not actually going to give you a full course on this today. I'm only going to give you a little bit of an introduction. And some of it's about giving it context, about it being an interactive process, about layering informations and iterating, and sort of going down into a sort of a process as if you were having a conversation. So it gradually learns what you're doing. But it's also things like using templates and also creating recipes which you can save and come back and use later on. And we'll talk about that in a while. The other thing you'll see is, as I go through, this is an example of prompting and prompt engineering. I started off with what is prompt engineering, and then I asked it to summarize this into bullet points. So I didn't have to explain what I was talking about, because the first message and the second message are linked. And so you're having a conversation, and while you're in this session, it's sort of learning from what you're saying. There are some issues with that, in the sense that you may want to not retain that information, but that's all to do with what settings you use, and whether you want this to be temporary or whether you want it to be saved, and whether you want that information to actually feed back into its database. But also it is OpenAI trying to develop a version which has a long-term memory. So it learns from what you've done in previous sessions. So you've got sort of cross-session memory as well. So first of all, I wanted to show you a few of the settings and customization. So in the top right, you've got my login details, and and when you click on there, you can see that you've got my GPTs, custom ChatGPT, and settings. So my GPTs is the thing I just mentioned, which is these saved recipes. And we're going to go into that in a little bit more detail, but you can create your own, but you can also use other people's. You can customize the ChatGPT settings, which is more about the way that it provides answers. And you can also play around with the settings as well. And this is mainly about things like data control, security, what you connect it to, and also things like use of speech. Now, at the moment, I've just totally shown you the text version, but there is an app which is available on your phone, which allows you to talk into it like you would with something like Google as well. So you can have a conversation, and this is really important for accessibility, but also it allows you to be a little bit more interactive and work faster than you can type. The other thing I wanted to show you was some of the customization, and this is the ability to give custom instructions and also get different types of responses that are applied at the account level, and therefore you can always get a certain style or certain type of response. Now that's slightly awkward for us because as an agency, we've got lots of different people using it, although officially we're not meant to. And also, I shouldn't have said that on video, should I? And also, we're working on lots of different clients, and of course they've got different styles. So you can create sort of custom GPTs which have set the styles for each client. And I know some agencies have done this, but you can set some stuff up at sort of a general level that will apply for everybody. So I've got a couple of examples to show you. So first of all, if you click on, you can see here custom instructions. If I actually start typing in that, it looks like this. It's quite small here. But what I've done is I've given it some instructions, and the instructions that I've given are, we're based in the UK, we're a digital agency, so work with lots of different clients. Most require UK English, because of course a lot of the stuff we get is in American English. And then the second part, as I scroll down, is how would you like ChatGPT to respond? And I've said, always respond in UK English. Please use professional business language unless otherwise requested. Now, to be honest, even though this has been set up, it's still often, I have to ask it to do UK spellings. It's not particularly reliable. But I think that's partly because we break the system by using it for different things all the time. So if I was to have this in my personal account, it will save it and it will be a bit more consistent. Okay, so the first thing I want you to consider is upgrading to ChatGPT. And this will give you GPT 4.0. And the O isn't a number, it's a sort of shortening of omni or omni-channel or omni-mode or multimodal, whichever one you want to call it. But at the moment, you can't get access to ChatGPT 4.0 unless you go through the paid version. However, they are talking about making this free eventually, but they haven't done it yet. But O stands for Omni, which is voice, vision, text, and data. And this was a screen grab from the introductory webinar, which was in May when they launched 4.0. And you can see that you've got the GPT store. You've got the ability to create images. You can browse the internet. It's got memory, and it's also got advanced data analysis. Now, some of this is being a bit slow. So although it's browsing the internet, they did promise a ChatGPT search engine at the same time, but you'll see in a minute that they haven't actually released that yet. So I'll come on to that in a bit. But if you actually go into ChatGPT and ask if you can get it for free, it's basically saying it's not available yet. But if you want to go to the ChatGPT Plus plan, which costs $20, you can get it immediately. And the amount of time and money that this saves me, it's worth. I mean, I'm not going to admit this to OpenAI, but I would definitely pay $200 for the functionality that you get. They're going for mass market, so they've gone, and interestingly, all the others have set their fee at the same price. So I think Perplexity and Gemini have also, the paid version of Gemini, which is Google's, is also $20 a month. And the reason is that it can just save you so much time, and the difference in the quality of the data from the free version to 4.0 is just astounding. So you definitely, and I'm going to show you some examples of that. And actually, if you go into the free version, I'm still getting the wrong answers for some things that if you go to the paid version, you get much better quality answers, much more detail. And it's also got the ability to go online automatically without you having to request it. So this is the paid version. I think the logo is a different color, although you can't see this in the screenshot. And it does give me access to a lot of additional tools. And if I click on there, you can see that I can use the standard 4 version. There's also 4.0 mini, there's the 4.0, and there's temporary chat as well. And this is almost like a Snapchat type thing. You do your chat and then it doesn't save it. So this is really useful if you're doing something confidential and you don't want the rest of the organization to see it. But I definitely think that if you are doing stuff that's highly confidential, then you might want to look about having a separate account. So when you go into the paid version, you've also got some other features. So on the left-hand side, you can explore the GPTs, which are these custom GPTs or ones you've created yourself. You've also got this team functionality, which is like creating a workspace where everybody can have their own account. I haven't investigated this and I've not really talked about it much in here, but it does have some added security and the information isn't shared to the main database. Whereas with the 4.0, you have to go and turn off the sharing within the settings. It also overcomes some of the access restrictions and timeouts. So if you're using the free version, you can hit capacity quite quickly, particularly if you use it in the afternoon when the states are online. However, when I'm training a workshop, I have actually hit GPT-4 capacity as well. So don't think you're just going to be able to use it all the time, and you can be on it all day without hitting some limits. So just be warned that you're better off sometimes using, if you're doing something really simple like just summarizing some text or doing a spelling check or just something really simple, then use the lower level version so you're not basically using your credits. I just wanted to quickly tell you about Google's generative AI, which is called Gemini. So you can go into gemini.google.com/app, and it looks very, very similar, and you can type stuff in. It does have some image generation as well as text, and it has also got the ability to go online as well and provide links. So it is better than the free version of ChatGPT, but not as good as the paid version of ChatGPT. I also think it's not as good as the paid version. The paid version isn't as good, but it does have some advantage in the things like that it has access to YouTube database as well. So it is better for certain things, but you can play around and see what works best for you. I don't want to do a talk on this today because there's a whole talk to be done on AI overviews, but this is where AI results are actually included at the top of Google. So I did a search of what is ChatGPT and how to use it, and it's given me this AI overview. Now, you won't all see this. It was launched and then they retracted it because there was loads of really mad things like eating rocks and gluing pizza and stuff like that, which hit the national press. So they've retracted a lot of the phrases that were coming up in May when they launched it, were then don't come up anymore. But you do find it, I find it quite regularly, just because, so if you enter that, what is ChatGPT and how to use it within Google, you'll be able to see whether you get a result or not. But this bit of the text isn't got any links, and the links are down at the bottom, and there's 3 main links there. So the problem, the big concern about this, and I've got a separate talk on this, is how it's going to screw up your SEO and how all your organic results are going to be pushed down. So this is going to have some big impacts, and we know that they're going to include ads within the results as well. So we will do an update on AI overviews in the next month or so. Okay, so let's move on to prompt engineering then. So what I'm going to be doing is showing you examples of how you can use ChatGPT within your marketing and day job, and how I've evolved these prompts to try and get a better answer. And then I'm going to show you some of the more advanced stuff that we've been doing that you could potentially turn into a custom GPT. And I know some of the Anika team, including Darren and some of the PPC team and some of the content team, have been playing around and creating. You'll see what they've been doing in the screenshot in a minute. So first of all, I'm just going to use it to research a topic. So all I've typed in here is how can ChatGPT be used for a marketer? So when you download the PDF rather, you should be able to highlight that and grab that text, and then you should be able to put that into ChatGPT and see what you get. So this is the free version. And you can see it's given me a load of information there, and it's in a numerical list. So what I've done there is it's given me quite a detailed answer, but in this version, all I've asked it this time is to please list the headings without the description. So effectively, I've got the topics. So this is the sort of stuff that I do. I might ask for a list of topics first, and then I'll ask for it to be expanded, or I might get some text and I might summarize it. But a lot of the stuff I'm doing is about trying to make it more succinct, or condense it, or summarize it, or correct my spelling and grammar, or convert it into different formats. So that's sort of just practical everyday stuff. Another place that you get really good functionality is if you use the Gemini sort of co-pilot. I won't call it co-pilot, the Gemini assistant within Drive Docs. I think it's much better than the co-pilot in Word and Microsoft, particularly as you have to pay for co-pilot. And at the moment, I don't think it's as good as some of the other functionality that's out there. I want to make my prompts a little bit more specific. So please explain other AI-based technology from OpenAI and other tech companies. So I'm asking it to give me more detail. I also might want to summarize it. So please make a shortened version with just the main headings. Or I might want to convert bullet points to paragraphs. So again, it's just the evolution of how I'm using ChatGPT in my everyday job. Just to make my life easier. And to be honest, I've got it open all the time, and I just use it all the time. And if I'm doing something like a tender application where you've got word limits and you're having to get your words condensed or expanded, because if you put something like improve the text, it will actually add content in there from its own database and on the web. It's not just using what you've put in, it's actually augmenting the information that you've suggested, and actually going and seeing what else is out there that can support it. And the way it's working on the probability of all the data it's seen out there. So if you ask it a simple thing is, please explain what technical SEO is, it will analyze all the information it's gathered in its database, and then based on the probability will then create the answer. So that it's not copying the text from anywhere, it's creating new text, but it's using information that it's gathered and how it's processed that. But that is a problem, because if there's not much data in there, or it's a very niche subject, it can make it up, which we often call hallucination, which I'll come on to in a minute. This one is actually getting it to write a whole blog or a section of a longer article. And the way that I do this is and the actual Integrate book that many of you have downloaded or seen or picked up at an expo, is that we created the subject matters and the topics. And then what we did is we took each topic one at a time and got it to create, came up with some ideas about the content. And then we processed it and improved it. And then we manually edited it after. So we never actually use the content straight from ChatGPT. We always tweak it and play around and combine it. But this is showing you that you can actually create a blog and I've asked for paragraphs and bullet points to make it more structured. But I can also change the tone as well. So this is an example of an email where on the left, I write an email asking a colleague based in the UK to help with hosting a webinar next Friday. It's very formal. I hope this email finds you well. I'm reaching out to seek your assistance with upcoming, there's no way that anybody at Anika would talk to each other like that. So I've made it much more friendly and formal and even funny. And I've said, webinar SEOs need a superhero for next Friday. Not that I would write that either. Although I could imagine Tony with his cape and his mask helping us on the webinar. We'll have to do that one day for Christmas, Tony. But hope you're doing awesome. Of course, this is very American language. I've got a little teeny favour to ask you. You know how we've always joked about you not having enough excitement in your working lives? Well, guess what? The universe heard us and it's delivered a golden opportunity right on your doorstep. Next Friday, we're hosting a webinar that I'm pretty sure you're going to be the highlight of your career, or at least for next week. And here's the twist. I need a superhero sidekick. And you, my friend, have been chosen to don the cape. Yeah, I mean, there's no way I'd ever write anything like that. But it explains how you can change it. You can also make it more formal, less informal. You can also write it in the style of or acting as. So, if you're trying to write a sales message, you can say acting in the name of a salesperson. And there's loads of famous people, like, I think, is it Tony Robinson that's a famous guru on sales? Or you choose another one. You can tell I'm not a salesperson. And then they will actually use it to be in that style, and that can help improve the quality of the content that you write. You can use it to write social posts or an ad. So this is writing for LinkedIn. It's included hashtags. It's even included emojis. However, if you really want to do very specific marketing tasks, there are other paid software like Simplify, Copy.ai, Jasper, and these have been around quite a lot longer. And what they're doing is they're effectively honing the prompting techniques behind the scenes. And so they've really perfected the way of getting the data out of the database and actually improving the responses that you get. So if you're going to be using it full time for that and you haven't got time to build your own ChatGPT to actually do this, your own custom GPT to do this, then you might want to take a shortcut and pay for some software. Again, convert this to UK English because I get so fed up with it writing in American English and using the IZs like personalized, etc., which you can see has changed in the top to the bottom. Don't think it's all about text as well. Particularly the paid version, you can use a lot of tabular information. I've done a lot of research on URLs where I'll actually upload an Excel spreadsheet with a load of domain or company names, and then I'll go or company names, and then I'll go and ask it to give me information about the URLs, what the key products are, whether it's an e-commerce website, and that's how I've been populating our database. But in this examples, we've used it to create a content calendar and put it in a tabular form. I've given it quite specific instructions about it being an e-commerce shop that sells home and garden products, taking into account seasonality. I want the table presented with rows for months, topics, and different types of content in the columns. It hasn't given me any additional content ideas. It's just given me email and blogs. I would hope it would give me, say, social posts. But you could just go back and say, hey, can you improve this by giving me a social post as well? You can carry out tasks in other languages, or you can translate. So you can do above, but in French. But it will also take into consideration French events and local seasonality, because I've tweaked it slightly. If you get somebody that's a French speaker, they'll look at that and say, this is fine. One of the problems with the free version is asking about recent topics. So if you ask about a recent topic, what is the latest state of information in your training data? It says my training data is August 23. However, I did ask yesterday about the Olympics, and it has got a little bit of information, but I want to compare that with if you use the 4 ChatGPT 4 or ChatGPT 4.0, is that you can actually go online. So in this, so I'm going to come to that in a minute, but you can get additional information by asking it to go online and get information. And then that way it will actually go and get updated information from the web. You can also use it to design a website menu. I've given quite strict instructions here, but there's now a load of AI-driven website builders that can basically build the whole thing from scratch. But you want to avoid hallucinations. So if you ask a subject that's very niche, so what are the 10 steps in Anne Stanley's A10 marketing framework? In this time, it has actually at least given A's, but they're not the right A's. It's completely made it up. So in this case, it's hallucinated. Whereas if we look at the paid version in a minute, you'll see that it actually gets the right answer. So another thing you can do is use templates. And so these are templates that I've created to create a case study where you insert bullet points, the company and the dates. It can be really simple. You need a minimum of 3 objectives, 3 to 6 activities in the project, 3 to 6 results. I spent ages playing around with this to make sure you get the instructions correct. And this is a perfect example of one that would make a great custom GPT. And what you do is you get, so if Tony or Jess was doing a case study for Anika Digital or Anika Academy, they would go in, they would put these points, they'd enter something like this. This is actually quite a detailed instruction, because I actually was using this to work out how to create the template. So this is my sort of reverse engineering going on here. And then what it did is it created a really succinct, which you can see better here. It added a load of additional information. It explained who the Leicester City Commission group was, and what they were doing with the hospital. And then it's put it into good text. And then if you go down the whole of the case study, this is where I've put it into Drive so I can get my colleagues to edit it. And I've highlighted that there was an issue. It actually made some information up here. 86% were from targeted demographics. It wasn't, it was 86 of them were from Facebook and Instagram. So I've edited it and corrected it. So the point here is never trust anything that comes straight out of ChatGPT without proof and sense testing it first, because it will lie to you, it will make things up, and it will get muddled up. You can also use it as a template to write a web landing page for a new recruitment service. You can use it, you can actually refine or regenerate versions or insert keywords for SEO. So this one was in that one, which was a web page, could you add some key phrases in there? If I didn't like it, I can regenerate the response. I can say insert keywords for SEO. And then I have a look at the before, where it just mentions recruit learners. And then I've got the afterwards, and I've highlighted where it's added the extra key phrases. I'm not saying this is necessarily good enough, by the way. It's not going to replace a trained SEO content writer, but at least it will give you a start. You can also use the template to create things like job descriptions or a job ad. And this is an example here. So again, use of templates is really, really helpful. And then you can use it for writing a press release from a brief or template. Again, you need to fact check the results. So this is the output from and when you get this, the slide, you'll be able to zoom in and see actually what my template looks like. And then this was the results, but in the middle there is some data, and you need to go and check that that data is accurate in the same way that it got it wrong on mine. If it's provided data, then you need to make sure that that data is accurate. These are the custom GPTs. So taking everything that we've just learned there about creating templates and also iterative prompting, or prompt engineering as it's called, what you can do in a custom GPT is basically create a recipe of pre-configured prompts, which go backwards and forwards. It might get stuff online, it might get resources, but you'll also find a load of commercial ones, which are almost like mini apps that use their own data, their own websites as resources. So things like TripAdvisor and a whole load of other ones. So in the first screen of the paid version, you saw a link to ChatGPT, so custom GPTs, which was halfway on the left-hand side. I've clicked on that link, and I'm now in what's called the GPT store. And I've got the, below is a directory of all the ready-made prompts that are available. But I've also got the ability to see the ones that I've created, the Annika team have created already. And then we've also got ability to create new ones. Now, I'm not planning to show you how to create a custom GPT today. If that's something that you are interested in, then we might want to include that as one of our webinars or one of our workshops. But it's not going to be it's not for today. But what I'm going to do instead is show you how to use one that somebody else has already created. So if you're doing a lot of research and you want to find out what people are saying about a topic, particularly it's a technical issue or maybe a scientific issue, then what you can do is you can do a search. So I'm going to search for research and analysis, and I'm going to use the tool Consensus. I don't know if any of you use Consensus. It's basically takes the most latest research. It's usually about a month out of date, and it gives a sort of view of what the latest consensus is on a load of topics. When you click on there, you get an upload of how many people have used Consensus, and then you can start the chat. And the prompt that I use is, has digital marketing overtaken offline marketing? And it then gives me the option of allowing Consensus to talk to other apps. So yeah, so we're basically giving it permission. And then on the right, it's given us the answer. And it's also given the source of the answer. Now, one of the things about optimizing to get found in the generative AI, ChatGPT, Gemini results is understanding how other people have got their data in it. And if you think about it, if it tells you where it's getting the data from and you're in that original source, then you've got a chance. So when we do a talk on SEO for AI or generative search optimization, GSO, we will explain that in a little bit more detail about that process. But if you can get into the source data, then you've got a chance of getting into the results and therefore potential people finding you. Okay, so how am I doing? So we're going to do section 3, which is accessing extra data. So the first thing I haven't really mentioned is that you can attach and review a document, and this is available on the free version as well. So you've got the little prompt there to attach and upload, and then I've uploaded technology innovations that impact digital marketing. Please review the attached presentation. Please list the key sections and main finding using paragraphs and lists as appropriate. So what it's done is taken the data I've provided and provided a summary of it. Now you can upload more than one document and do a contrast. It does prefer PDFs to things like PowerPoints and Word, but you can upload those as well. And you can also upload Excel spreadsheets, so you can analyze those as well. So don't just think we're talking about PDFs. It is more extensive than that. And it's incredibly powerful. Even if you've only got a small document, you can, for example, we're working on the new version of our creds. We could upload that. We could ask it for some advice on how to improve it. How does it compare with other creds out there, etc., etc. You can also go online with the free version, but you actually have to put in the prompt, go online to find the latest news on the Olympics. if you just ask for who's won the gold medals at the Olympics, it's not necessarily going to give you the most recent news. So this is the update. I'm not quite sure what the date of the update. I should have clicked on the link to find out. Whereas if you go into 4.0, how many gold medals does the UK have in the Olympics? I didn't say which Olympics. I didn't ask it to go online. And it's replied, it's given me, it's searched 3 sites. And as of the 24th of 24 Paris Olympics, gold has scored 13 gold medals. And I've worked out that that was the sporting news on the 4th of August. So I've clicked on the links and that was the number of medals we had on the 4th of August. So I found the article that it's used. Now, if you go and do a search this morning, actually, it's quite difficult to find this, believe it or not. I had to click on quite a few links. But as of ESPN of the 8th of August, we've actually got 13 gold medals. So it's only a couple of days out of date. And I think it's not the date that's the issue. I think it was actually finding the right article that was the issue because it took me ages to find it. So it might be because the servers are based in the USA. It was looking at USA content, which of course isn't going to talk much about the UK. So what I do notice is the combination of going online and also using 4.0 means that I get much better quality data. So I've now repeated my question and asked what are the steps in the Stanley A10 marketing framework, which I've got a picture of on the right hand side, and you can see that it's got it right. Now, this was the first time I'd ever got it to get it right. So that combination of being able to go online and you can see it's actually got the data from the Anika website, which is good to know because it means that our website is included in the database or it's being used as a source in this. And I didn't say anything about Anika, I just said Anne Stanley, so it's found it on its own. So this will be a combination of good quality SEO as well as the ability for it to find that article. I then did an exercise. This is from March, and then I've updated about how to use it to do key phrase research. And at that point, 3.5, it was pretty awful. So provide a list of key phrases for use in a digital agency network with search data for the UK. Didn't give me any numbers at all. It did suggest that I went and used some tools, but it didn't give me any links and it didn't give me any numbers. I then used 4. And this time it's provided a little bit better information, but it's still not brilliant. And then I've tried to ask for more information. Can you give me some search volume? But it's not going live and going and extracting it from anywhere. It's just found this from an article or something. It just says that if you want to go and get this information, you need to go to these websites, but it's not really that helpful because it's not provided any links. So if you then go online to get, and you can get links to the answer. So if you go online, can you find any actual data on key phrase volumes for key phrase relating to digital marketing? So this time you can see the link format is slightly different. At this point, it was just inverted commas within a bracket, but at least those links are then available. And then now I've got 4.0, it's actually given me data, although that data there is global. And if you scroll down, it gives me links to the sources. So you can see the evolution of the data and how much better it is. But I wouldn't, based on this, I wouldn't use ChatGPT. I'd go to the source of the data, Ahrefs, Key Phrase Planner, SEMrush, and get or Google it directly, which is the key phrase planner, and get the data directly. Okay, just a few more slides to finish off, and then we'll do questions. So multimodal and more than text, which is more than text to text. So formulas and code, I use it. I've used it to help me with HTML code. When the website Elementor was broken, I couldn't get it to work. I showed it an image of what I wanted, and it created the code for me. I can use it for creating formulas. I'm also using something called numerous.ai, which is a plugin to Excel, which is brilliant, which has ChatGPT in the fields and can help you create fields. So definitely, if you do Excel a lot, definitely check out Numerous. You can use it for creating images. This is using DALL. So create a photorealistic image of golden retriever puppies playing in the snow. Oh, ain't that cute? However, I want you afterwards to go and have a look at this video. So this is the new photorealistic video generator, which is cinematic quality. There's a bit.ly there of Annika-Sora-video. I don't have time to play it. There's the actual YouTube link as well if you want to take a screenshot of that. If you grab your camera, you can go and grab it, and don't open it up now, but and the quality of the images and the video is amazing. This is a screen grab of the puppies that it's generating, and you would not know that that was not an image. And in fact, I think if I showed Barney, who's here today, that dog, he would want to sniff behind the back of the laptop because it's so photorealistic. It is incredible. Okay, latest announcements. So first of all, launching their own search engine. Now, they've been talking about this for about 3 months now, definitely before May. There is a wait list. So if you go to chatgpt.com/search, you are on the wait list. So we are on the wait list. There was also announcement. I saw this yesterday. I don't know whether this was these articles were earlier on in the week, but ChatGPT, and they're talking about the features and what's happening. So we're expecting this to be released later in 24, early 25. And it's going to be part of the paid model. And then also the Strawberry project, which is all about how ChatGPT is going to start having improved research and reasoning functionality. It's sort of starting to talk about almost automation, which of course we do loads of in things like WhatsApp, Go High Level, HubSpot, etc. But it's how you can automate some of your internal processes. So I'm really excited to see what that, and I love the images I generated using Photo. I think that image is beautiful. And it reminds me very much of an image that my best friend produced for De Montfort University graduate show over 30 years ago. And she produced this massive strawberry and won the prize. And it's a spitting image of that image. So I don't know whether that's where it's taken its inspiration from. That's a brilliant, brilliant image. Okay, so just rounding off now. So how can we help you then? So if you aren't already signed up, we are announcing the weekly webinars at the annika.co.uk/resources-webinar. Our objective is to have them a month in advance. That's what Tony's going to be doing. Obviously, when Gurpreet, many of you have met Gurpreet, and she's sadly gone on to become an SEO expert somewhere else, but she struggled to do both Tony's and Jessica's job. And we now got two people doing what Gurpreet was trying to do. So she never really got it very far in advance. But our objective is you can go and sign up way, way in advance. We've also got the digital skills boot camps that we're recruiting at the moment. This is for Leicestershire, Greater Lincolnshire, Rutland, Norfolk and Suffolk. We've also got Derbyshire and Nottingham, but we're not sure how many places we've got. We think that will start in October, but we're also recruiting for September at the moment. So if you're interested in a free place, it's a commitment of about 10 hours a week over the 16 weeks, and it's a level 5 qualification. So go and check it out at annika.co.uk/free-training, where you can also fill in the application form. So that's a plug for Tony, and that's a plug for Jessica. And then some of our networking events. So the second Tuesday of the month, we've partnered up with the LCP Depot, which is where there's loads of other creative agencies. I'm sure there'll be some on the call today. So if you can get to Leicester for 7:30, it's a free breakfast. And next Wednesday, we've got our colleague, Chris Dillon, who's going to be talking about automation during the sales process. It's a really interesting talk. A lot of the stuff that he's he was doing a year ago, we've now doing within Annika. And so that's a really interesting talk if any of you can make that. And then also we've got a VIP dinner at the Cozy Club on the 12th of September. E-commerce brands can join the waiting list. So in a second, I'll put up a link for that. So hopefully if any of you are working e-commerce, you may well want to join that lunch. And we've got Andrew Steele from Charles Bentley doing a talk about how this 160-year-old company that manufactured brushes, how it's become a multi-channel, selling through places like Next and Homebase and on Amazon and all the new retail media sites like B&Q, Debenhams, etc. So if you're in e-commerce, it's not to be missed. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. That's the end of my talk. So I'm sure there's lots and lots of questions. So I'm going to stop sharing my slides. If you guys want to turn your cameras on, that would be great. Have we had lots of chats? I'm just going to bring up the offers. So I just do the VIP, the form for the VIP e-commerce lunch. So there's only a limited number of places. So you will need to fill in a form and apply. It's primarily targeted at e-commerce brands. But if you sell software into e-commerce as well, then we may well be able to invite you as well. Also, one of the things we do each week is we ask you to very kindly give us, in this case me, please leave us a review. And I do need to put this on your to-do list, Tony, but we need to update this because we've actually got over 500 reviews now. And this slide's a little bit out of date because it says only 284. So please click here and leave us a review after the presentation. And we're now going to open up the chat. I know we've gone over time, but has there been any interesting questions, or have you guys all been answering as we've gone along? Got your mic on, Tony? You're muted at the moment.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Yes. It was quite informative. A few people, James was helping us with the chat, James Allen.
Thank you, James.
And yeah, it was quite informative. It was a very, very great session. And I hope everyone learned something new from this session.
So is there anything that anybody wants us to ask? Yeah. So Carla, waitlist basically is that we haven't published the Eventbrite link yet. So there's a form which means that you can just put in your application to come on, be given an invite. That we are inviting companies in a sort of pecking order based on the e-commerce brands. So if you don't work for an e-commerce company, you'll go on like the reserve list. So, but if you want to fill in that form, that will allow us to see who's interested. Because it's a free buffet as well. And it's actually in the Cozy Cub in Leicester. There's only spaces for about 30 people. So if you do work in e-commerce and you'd like to join, please do sign up. If you'd like to go on the waiting list and you don't offer e-commerce, then of course we can if there's any places left, then we can invite you along. Okay, what are the best prompts to see ChatGPT for creating social posts? Well, I did do one there. What I would do is just be a little bit more specific. You need to say whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Twitter or X, who you're trying to target, what your objective is. Just give as much detail as possible. Provide some bullet points about what's it's about. If you want to get a good post in social media with lots of engagement, ask what you want to achieve from it. Is it to maximize engagement, to encourage comments, encourage shares, and then the answer will change accordingly.
Carla has a question concerning creating an ebook and trying to get the best prompts for pictures, like realistic pictures.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily use DALL. There are lots of other, I'm going to completely forget all of the names of all of the other image generators now that are out there, some of which are free and some of which aren't. Oh God, guys, can you help me out? Because I can't remember any of the names of any of the main. Somebody do a search in ChatGPT and write the names of the main image generators, because it's completely gone out of my head. But yeah, there's lots of other image generators and image manipulators that you can use. But again, what you need to do is request that it's in the style of, it's photorealistic, you need to give the dimensions, that sort of stuff. And once you've got one, you can upload and say, can you do something similar to this? Has anybody suggested anything? Yeah, Bingage, that's not the one that I was thinking of. Stable diffusion, good, that's one. Yeah, Midjourney was the one I was thinking of. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, Adobe Firefly. Sorry, I thought my mic was on. I was speaking, but I don't know if you heard me.
No, I didn't. I mean, yeah, and also it depends what you want to use them. Yeah, I like James's comment, they're not always set up for the faint of heart. Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because there's if they're being used by somebody that's a professional, then they actually have to control a lot of different elements, and there's also ability to manipulate the images and make some parts move in. What I would suggest you do is having a look at Canva. Canva's introduced a lot of AI functionality in its latest version. And because Canva is pretty easy for most people to use anyway, I would definitely look at Canva. But yeah, some brilliant ideas there. Adobe Firefly. Yeah, I think Figma is also worth looking at as well. I quite like the look of Figma. It's a little bit easier than Photoshop, and a lot, of course, some of these packages you have to pay for. Okay, let me see if there's any other questions. You have to be careful about the way you use images publicly. But if you create the prompt, you own the copyright and you can use the image that's created. In theory, somebody could type in exactly the same prompt and will get a similar image. So you just need to be aware that you need to make it more applicable to your style. I'm not sure if there's anything else I can answer. James, can I just ask you a question, because I know you've been helping on the prompt. James Allen works for Annika part-time, and we did a lot of work together on how to use, there's a few of us, Darren is the other person who's really geeky into this within Annika. We've been experimenting a lot. James, is there anything in the chat that we've missed and that we haven't answered yet? I'll answer Steve's question about Sorrow. Sorrow at the moment, because of the amount of processor power, it's only invitation only. So it's been given to people like specific creative studios, film studios, etc. I have no idea when it's going to be offered in the public. At the moment, some of these videos are limited to 30 seconds because of the amount of processor and power that they take. Has James come up with anything else?
There are no other questions that we can see in the chat. Like, those were the only questions left.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, have you used any images publicly?
Yeah.
Well, I just use one now. So I often use them in my slides. I do think that you need to be explicit. I haven't gone down the legal compliance route at all. So I've not talked about copyright and the fact that there's been concerns that some of the content has been scraped. I mean, I know that they know that there's been scraped because there was the watermark images of things like some of the main, I'm struggling to remember all the names. You can tell I was late doing these slides last night, but some of the big image, Getty, that's the one I'm thinking of. Their watermark was coming up in some of the images. I think that if you just use something like for ChatGPT, DALL, it's quite limited at the moment. And if you are going to be using it for creative and ad creation, then you probably have got to go into a specialist package. And there are some specialist ad creation software that's totally designed, things like for creating Facebook ads en masse, which you can then save your styles, and then they can carry on producing something that's consistent for the brands that you're working as an agency. Okay, yes, thanks. I saw that, Paul. So hi, Paul, good to see you. Yeah, so if you go on to chat to openai.com at the moment, then the home page is do you want ChatGPT for your desktop? So it's actually going to be a version that you can download onto your desktop, which means that you can do analysis of your data without it, I'm guessing, so it doesn't feed it back into the database. They are thinking that the main game changer is when it's actually installed locally on your mobile, and then that will be a game changer as well. Yeah, server issues, you do get kicked out every now and again as well. Okay, well, I think we need to, can you clarify what kind of downtime you mean? Well, one of the things that you do get is that if you've done over 30 inquiries within a certain period, it does tell you how many you're allowed. It basically says, bugger off, use the, don't use 4.0 or use a lower version, or come back in 3 hours time. So it just gives you it basically gives you a threshold of what you're allowed to use within a certain time. And then if you go over that, another thing that myself and James has been working with, a lot of James's experience, is actually using the ChatGPT API to do queries en masse, but that's not really a topic for today, because today was to bring you all up to just basically go off and use it and experiment. I think on that note, I think that's a good place to finish. Thanks everybody for all your kind feedback. It's great to see so many people here today. And Tony, could you just tell everybody what the next talk is, and then I'll answer Alicia's question in a second.
So our next talk is coming up on August 30th, and it's going to be centered around e-commerce. It's going to go live on all our social media platforms, and we're also going to send out emails for you to register and also join. So we can't wait to see you.
Also, we have got some learners who are on our boot camp at the moment. What will happen is when you get your form for next week, it will ask you if you've watched the webinar live with the date. And if you have watched the webinar live, you can put 1.25 hours in that particular field. So that's for the students that are monitoring the amount of time. Thanks very much, everybody. Have a great weekend. You should get the recording in a couple of hours. See you soon. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.